Chapter 1133. Just as the other Sky Devil Emperors were about to leave, in the center of the main hall, suddenly, a person appeared. Who is it? Who dares to trespass into the Sky Devil Palace? Many Sky Devil Emperors' expressions changed, and they instinctively shouted. However, when they saw the appearance of the person who came, their faces suddenly turned pale. Venerable One. Marcus, who was sitting in the upper position of the main hall. The indifference on his face now also disappeared. He hurriedly came down from the Emperor's throne, walked in front of Qin Shujian, and bowed. Marcus greets the Venerable One. I wonder if the Venerable One has any orders for my Sky Devil clan? This Demon Emperor. He lowered his posture to the lowest possible level. Even now that he had become the only emperor of the Sky Devil clan, Marcus did not dare to be arrogant in front of Qin Shujian. What could be provoked? What was it that could not be provoked? He was very clear about it. Qin Shujian belonged to the latter. Looking at the Sky Devil Emperor who bowed in front of him, Qin Shujian said calmly, Demon Emperor need not be so courteous. Thank you, Venerable One. This Venerable One came to the Sky Devil clan this time to tell the Sky Devil clan one thing. In a year or two, this Venerable One will fight with other powerhouses. At that time, I will need the Sky Devil clan's help. I hope the Demon Emperor will be prepared. When necessary, this Venerable One will issue an edict. Qin Shujian said indifferently. Fight? An edict? Marcus was stunned for a moment, and then he came back to his senses. The Sky Devil clan will naturally respect the words of the Venerable One. Then, he looked hesitant again. This one has something to ask the Venerable One. Speak. Is the Heavenly Court's current actions also related to the war that the Venerable One mentioned? Marcus instantly thought of the Heavenly Court's actions. At first, he was still wondering why the Heavenly Court would make such a big move for no reason. Now that Qin Shujian came to him, he connected the dots. If the Heavenly Court was not attacking the Sky Devil clan, then the purpose of the other party's big move was because of the Venerable One in front of him. Hearing this, Qin Shujian nodded, the Heavenly Courts are indeed preparing for war. He received a definite answer. Marcus's suspended heart finally settled down. It was fine as long as he didn't attack the Heaven Devil race. Otherwise, the current Sky Demons were truly hard to resist. After a brief explanation, Qin Shujian turned and left. Marcus wanted to ask a few more questions, but he didn't get the chance. At this moment, only then did the other Heavenly Devil Emperors dare to speak. Lord Devil Emperor, what kind of expert is the Venerable going to fight with that even our Heavenly Devil clan has to take action? This matter is not simple. The Supremacy's enemy is extraordinary. If our Heavenly Fiend race were to recklessly join the battle, we might suffer heavy losses. Some Celestial Devil Emperors looked solemn. The battle began. This was equivalent to saying that people would die. With Qin Shujian's abilities, the enemies he had provoked were not ones the Sky Demons could contend against. If a war really broke out, if the Heaven Devil race wasn't careful, it might even be possible for them to be exterminated. They suffered heavy losses. That was an understatement. Hearing this, the smile on Marcus's face vanished, replaced by indifference. How could I not know what you are talking about, but now you and I have any leeway to choose. It's fine if the Venerable doesn't open his mouth, but once he does, no one can refuse. If we join the battle, our Heavenly Fiend race might suffer heavy losses. But if we refuse directly, do you believe that our Heavenly Fiend race would be exterminated on the spot? As his voice faded, all the Celestial Devil Emperors fell silent. Yes. This was the sorrow of the weak. In front of the strong, the weak simply had no leeway to choose. If they didn't listen, then the outcome could be imagined. Although the Heavenly Fiend race was huge, in front of that person, they were no different from ants. Marcus said, the Heavenly Fiend race is too weak. Although our heavenly fiend race is now the strongest force below the heavenly courts, in front of that supremacy, even the heavenly courts are probably an existence that can be destroyed with a wave of his hand. Get ready for war if the heavenly fiend race doesn't want to be destroyed in the upcoming battle. After saying that, Liundong faintly said. Marcus turned to look at all the celestial devil emperors. From now on, inform all heavenly fiend clansmen to get ready for war. In addition, this seat will be in seclusion for a year or two, and strive to accumulate some strength. All of you are now in the state of nirvana. You are only half a step away from breaking through to true immortal. If you can succeed in breaking through before the battle, your strength will increase by a lot. When the time comes, there might be a chance to save your lives. As they watched Marcus leave the heavenly fiend palace after he finished speaking, the celestial devil emperors present looked at each other and saw the same thought in each other's eyes. Indeed, there was one thing that the other party was right about. Breaking through to true immortal would allow their strength to increase by a lot. As true immortals who were originally in the upper 3 tiers, it was absolutely impossible to say that they didn't feel anything now that they had collectively fallen to the level of celestials. After all, their realms had fallen. No matter what, they would feel a little insecure. Even if the current nirvana realm was stronger than the upper 3 tiers of true immortals in the past, it would still be the same. Now, if they could once again ascend to the level of true immortals, then many things would be different. Soon, the relevant orders were passed down layer by layer. The Heavenly Fiend clan had always had a strict hierarchy. None of the Sky Fiend race dared to defy these orders. When the Heavenly Fiend clan was preparing for war, Qin Shujian didn't leave the inner world, but instead came to the underworld once again. With the birth of the 10 kings of hell, the order of the underworld was immediately rectified by a lot. When he entered the underworld, he could clearly feel that the rules of the underworld had been stabilized by a lot. Beside the yellow spring, the ferryman had been waiting there for a long time. Venerable one is here, please board the boat and let this old one ferry you to the other side. Qin Shujian nodded and stepped into the boat. The yellow spring ferryman pushed the boat and left. In the yellow spring, there was still a large amount of Yin spirits present. However, compared to before, the amount of Yin spirits present was much less. Noticing Qin Shujian's gaze, the ferryman said, with the birth of the 6 paths of reincarnation, many of the ghosts lingering in the yellow spring were given the opportunity to reincarnate. Now, each of them has entered the cycle of reincarnation and are heading to the human world to be reincarnated. I didn't expect the underworld to be perfected so quickly. Qin Shujian sighed. Everything seemed to be arranged by the underworld. It was just waiting for the 10 kings of hell to appear. When the Yama kings of the 10 palaces came into being, everything would come into being, causing the chaotic underworld to enter a perfect state. Entering the yellow spring. Stepping onto the bridge of helplessness. Now, there were ghosts lining up to walk onto the bridge in an orderly manner. Then, behind the stone platform, Qin Shujian saw a woman in a palace dress. She was holding bowls of something and handing them to the ghosts in line. When the ghosts drank it all in one gulp, only then could they leave this place. Mengpa. When he saw the woman in the palace dress, Qin Shujian felt as if he had seen Goddess Pingxin. But he knew very well. The woman in front of him was definitely not Goddess Pingxin. She was Mengpa of the underworld. The water in the bowl was Mengpo's soup. In his line of sight, he saw Mengpa take water from the river of forgetfulness and then add some unknown thing into it. In the end, it became a bowl of fresh Mengpo's soup. After drinking Mengpo's soup, every ghost's face became dull and they were taken away by the ghost servants waiting there one by one. However, what Qin Shujian really cared about was Mengpo's strength. A true immortal. The strength of the Mengpa in front of him was at the true immortal realm. In the current inner world, true immortals were very rare. Just like in the Heavenly Devil clan. Only Marcus was a true immortal. The rest of the Heavenly Devil emperors were all at the Nirvana realm. But a Mengpa, was an existence at the true immortal realm. It did seem a little inconceivable. But Qin Shujian knew. Mengpo was actually not a ghost in the true sense, but the soul of the underworld. In other words, the other party was equivalent to the incarnation of the underworld. In the boundless world, it would not be an exaggeration to say that it was the incarnation of the heavenly Tao. Such an existence. Different from ordinary ghosts, it was normal for her to have the strength of a true immortal. Moreover, without the strength of a true immortal, it was also very difficult to suppress the many ghosts in the underworld. Didn't you see that among the ghosts that walked onto the bridge of helplessness, there were some experts who were unwilling to drink Mengpo's soup and forget the past? However, they were suppressed by Mengpo's hand and directly drank Mengpo's soup. The method was simple and crude. His strength was also extremely tyrannical. Qin Shujian slowly walked in front of Mengpo. The other party's hand movements paused, and then he bowed slightly. Mengpo greets the Venerable One. The ghosts on the bridge of helplessness, as well as the surrounding ghost servants, were all shocked. This was the first time they had seen it. The always mysterious Mengpo was actually so respectful to the person in front of him. One had to know. Even in front of the 10 Yama kings, Mengpo always remained calm and collected, let alone bowing respectfully like now. Immediately, there were ghost servants sizing up Qin Shujian, wanting to see some clues from him. Qin Shujian nodded. From now on, I'll have to trouble Mengpo in the underworld. Venerable One must be joking. With the 10 Yama kings here, I'm just an ordinary woman. I can only do my job well. As for the rest, I don't dare to say anything. That's enough. Qin Shujian nodded. Then, like a sandstorm, he disappeared from where he stood. Seeing this, Mengpo's expression did not change, and she returned to her previous actions, feeding the ghosts bowl after bowl of Mengpo's soup. Fendu City. Inside the main hall, the newly promoted 10 Yama kings were now gathered here. The underworld has just been established, and there are too many ghosts accumulated a while ago. With the current number of ghost servants, there is no way to suppress so many ghosts. This king thinks that we should expand the number of ghost servants to stabilize the order of the underworld. King Yanluo said until here. He paused for a moment. Then he continued, in addition, ghost servants have to be extremely strong. Right now, there are many powerful ghosts in the underworld, but there aren't many who are qualified to be ghost servants. If possible, this king thinks that we can try to recruit some people from the human world. The human world? The expressions of the other 10 kings all changed. King Pingdang said, the human world is filled with living beings, while the underworld is filled with dead spirits. I'm afraid that there will be conflicts if we recruit cultivators from the human world. There's no need to worry about conflicts, as long as we turn living beings into dead spirits. After all, compared to the dead spirits of the underworld, the number of living beings in the human world is the most. If we recruit from there, we can solve the current problems of the underworld to the greatest extent. Moreover, when the 6 paths of reincarnation appeared, there were also some ghosts who wanted to forcefully break through the cycle of reincarnation. This matter also needs to be dealt with. King Yanluo said indifferently. The underworld had just been established, and all kinds of treasures had appeared. There was even a mysterious existence like the 6 paths of reincarnation, which attracted the covetous of many ghosts. Especially the 6 paths of reincarnation. The so-called 6 paths of reincarnation involved the mysteries of the heavenly Tao. Some ghosts wanted to take this opportunity to barge in, and then choose their own reincarnation opportunity to change their fate. It could be said. At every moment, there were ghosts trying to break through the 6 paths of reincarnation. For this reason, they had arranged for a large number of ghost servants to guard the place. Any ghost that tried to force its way in would be immediately captured and suppressed, or even beaten until its soul was scattered. All of a sudden, the book of life and death that was placed in front of King Yanluo's desk vibrated. The expressions of the 10 kings of hell changed. Who is it? A terrifying aura erupted, making them feel as if they were facing a great enemy. Someone had actually snuck into the Great Hall without them noticing at all. If it wasn't for the reaction of the Book of Life and Death, they wouldn't have noticed it until now. Just as the 10 kings of hell were facing a great enemy, Qin Shujian directly appeared there, and looked at the Book of Life and Death with a look of admiration. The Book of Life and Death is indeed a primordial treasure, its perception is indeed astonishing. This sovereign has only just entered this place, and you have already sensed it. At this moment, when they saw Qin Shujian's appearance clearly, the expressions of the 10 kings of hell changed drastically. They were all ghosts that were reborn and then became Yama. Moreover, the key to becoming a Yama was to absorb Qin Shujian's blood essence. So, they were all very familiar with Qin Shujian. Now that they saw Qin Shujian arrive, they instantly recognized his identity. Without hesitation, the 10 kings of hell all bowed down. "Greetings, Venerable One." As they spoke, they were all covered in cold sweat. He and the others. Just now, they were actually berating the Venerable One. It was truly disrespectful. If this person were to blame them, then they would be in big trouble. Qin Shujian said calmly, "All of you, get up." "Thank you, Venerable One. Now that the underworld has just been established, it is indeed not bad that you have managed it so well. This time, I am not here for anything else, but to inform you of one thing." Qin Shujian first praised, and then went straight to the point. Hearing this, the 10 kings of hell looked at each other, and they could see the doubt in each other's eyes. Then, they said in unison, "Please speak clearly, Venerable One. I want the underworld to integrate all its forces to prepare for war. In the next 2 years or so, I will issue an edict. At that time, I will need you to bring the ghosts of the underworld to participate in the war and sweep away all enemies for me." Sweep away all enemies. The hearts of the 10 kings of hell suddenly trembled. Then, they came back to their senses, lowered their heads and replied, "Don't worry, Venerable One. We will immediately integrate the forces of the underworld. At that time, as long as the Venerable One's edict is issued, we will be able to fight." "Good." Qin Shujian nodded in satisfaction. When the 10 kings of hell straightened up, they found that his figure had already disappeared from the main hall. Seeing this, the 10 kings of hell looked at each other with complicated expressions. His divine consciousness withdrew from the inner world. Qin Shujian's body shook, and a powerful aura burst out like a storm. It was as if a supreme existence was about to destroy the world. The huge heavenly palace. It was shaking gently. After a long time, his aura was restrained. His tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. 3rd level immortal. The underworld was perfected. It allowed the rules of the inner world to transform further. The limits of heaven and earth increased. As the ruler of heaven and earth, his strength also steadily increased. Until now, he could be considered to be firmly standing on the 3rd level of a mortal realm. However, although the realm was the realm, but the strength was completely different. He was also a 3rd level immortal. Qin Shujian's body contained a boundless world. In comparison, the other 3rd level immortals were not qualified to be compared to him at all. Although I'm a 3rd level immortal, even the middle 3 true immortals are probably no match for me. Whether I can match the upper 3 true immortals is debatable. The middle 3 true immortals and the upper 3 true immortals he was talking about. He was referring to the existence of the real level. If it was the illusory level. Not to mention the upper 3 true immortals, even Hong Jun, who had merged the Tao, had absolute confidence in suppressing the other party. The body sitting in the heavenly palace disappeared. In the next moment, Qin Shujian left the boundless world and came to the void. The void was boundless. But now that he had successfully transformed, many rules appeared in the void. Although there were many rules and they were extremely vast, they were illusory and lacked a sense of reality. With a thought, billions of miles of the void collapsed inch by inch. At the same time, The entire universe was trembling slightly, as if it felt a terrifying threat. Thunder and lightning danced in the universe. Then, another wave of boundless pressure came crashing down. Qin Shujian looked at the strange phenomenon in the universe with his hands behind his back and said calmly, "I'm a creature of the universe. I have no ill intentions. I'm just trying out my own strength. Don't be too nervous." As soon as he finished speaking, all the strange phenomena disappeared. Even the trembling universe calmed down. In the sea of consciousness, Godslayer and Zhou Tian's star map were so shocked that they were speechless. With just a thought, he could cause billions of miles of the void to collapse and attract the consciousness of the universe to descend. More importantly, the other party's one sentence. He made the consciousness of the universe retreat obediently. Such a method. This was simply unheard of. Even Godslayer, who had become an immortal weapon, found it difficult to understand such a method. The Emperor of Heaven is terrifyingly strong. In addition to being shocked, he also felt very fortunate. The other party was his ruler. The stronger he was, the greater the benefits for him. Godslayer felt extremely fortunate for his original choice. If he had chosen to retreat at that time, he definitely wouldn't have been qualified to follow Qin Shujian until now. It was even more impossible. He had transformed into an immortal weapon and seen all kinds of power today. It could be said that Qin Shujian's strength was equivalent to his own opportunity. In the future, it was not impossible to break the limit of an immortal weapon and advance to another level. Looking at the universe, Qin Shujian's expression was calm. "Speaking of which, although I was born in the Third Era, I haven't really traveled the entire universe until now." He wasn't so clear about how big the universe was. He could only vaguely sense that the universe was shrinking. But no matter how it shrank, the universe was vast and boundless, and ordinary people couldn't explore it. Not to mention ordinary cultivators, even experts at the Dao fruit level couldn't explore the entire universe easily. So, he had never explored the entire universe. He had only glimpsed the tip of the iceberg in the Third Era. But it was different now. After transforming into a real existence, Qin Shujian looked at everything around him. It had already become different. The universe was boundless. But he seemed to be able to see the end at a glance. He could clearly see. There were countless real forces, like ferocious beasts, nibbling away at the existence of the universe. At the same time, there was also an extremely majestic body, holding a giant axe, killing those invading real forces and delaying the pace of the real invasion. Because of this, the universe was not destroyed by the real. Even so, the universe was still being nibbled away. It was just that the speed of nibbling was much slower. Is it him? Qin Shujian looked at the extremely majestic body, and a name involuntarily appeared in his mind. But he wasn't sure. Because, although he had heard of the other party's name, he had never really seen him. Thinking of this, he took a step forward and instantly crossed hundreds of millions of miles of void, shortening the distance between him and that existence. With every step he took, there was an endless void that was left behind by him. Qin Shujian didn't care at all, because his gaze had been on that person from the beginning to the end. Not long after, he stopped in his tracks. In front of him, there was a silver color that was different from the void. The gray universe. The silver power, like a layer of thick fog, enveloped the gray universe. In the sea of consciousness, Godslayer and Zhou Tian's star map could clearly see that the thick silver fog was surging bit by bit, constantly nibbling away at the universe. Seeing this, Zhou Tian's star map's voice was shocked. "What on earth is that? That's real power." Qin Shujian didn't answer, but Godslayer was the first to reply. He was an immortal divine weapon. It was true that he possessed real power. So, Godslayer was also very familiar with the existence of real power. Qin Shujian said, "That's right, this is real power." As you can see, the entire universe is now surrounded by real power, and it is being nibbled away bit by bit. When it has been nibbled away to a certain extent, the universe will collapse on its own. After it collapses, the universe will be reborn again, but the nibbling of real power will still exist. Therefore, every rebirth of the universe represents the intensification of the invasion of real power, causing the universe to have less and less space to survive. In the end, real power will occupy all the living space of the universe, and then there will be no possibility of the universe being reborn. The current universe. In Qin Shujian's view, it was like a fish on a chopping board, at the mercy of real power. They, who didn't want to be slaughtered, had to think of a way to resist. They couldn't beat it. Then join it. As long as they transformed into real existences, they naturally wouldn't be afraid of the erosion of the real level. Hearing this, Godslayer and Zhou Tian's star map fell silent. They also understood. What kind of state was the universe in now? No resistance. Sooner or later, it would die. He took a few glances at the real power. Qin Shujian directly barged in. Boom! It was as if they had sensed an intruder. True power surged and turned into terrifying experts, attacking him. What entered his eyes? In Qin Shujian's line of sight, he could see that the universe and real power were equivalent to two armies, fighting each other. Some of the illusory power condensed by the universe turned into cultivators, attacking the real power. Similarly, there were also terrifying existences formed from real power that attacked the universe. Facing such an attack, Huan Yu's side practically presented a one-sided situation. However, when Qin Shujian barged in, the universe's power didn't react at all. Obviously, the universe's instinctive consciousness knew that he was one of them. In comparison, the real power's attack was fierce. Looking at the powerful existence coming at him, Qin Shujian's expression didn't change. He took out the Godslayer in his mind and directly slashed out. Boom! The silver blade aura shattered everything. The true power that was blocking his path was completely annihilated by this saber. Although the cultivators formed by the real power were strong, but the real level, they were only between a perfected immortal and a celestial. In other words, it was equivalent to a Nirvana realm cultivator. Of course, that was a Nirvana realm cultivator at the real level. In the illusory level, even a ninth heaven immortal might not be able to match up to him. However, Qin Shujian's realm stood firmly above the third heaven immortal. His real means were not inferior to the real level of a perfected immortal. It was a piece of cake to deal with the incarnation of this level of power. For a moment, a large amount of real power was destroyed. After the true power was destroyed, silver crystals began to fall from the sky. After seeing those silver crystals, Qin Shujian's pupils suddenly constricted. This is the crystallization of real power. He was a little shocked. He didn't expect that after killing the cultivator formed by the real power, he would be able to obtain the crystallization of real power. One had to know. The crystallization of real power was equivalent to spirit stones. No. It was even more powerful than spirit stones. Because this was an important foundation for an illusory living being to transform into a real existence. Only by absorbing enough real power could one transform from the illusory level to the real level. Looking at the silver crystal in his hand, Qin Shujian's eyes flickered. The silver crystal is not big. If you want to make an ordinary living being transform successfully, you need a lot of crystals. The more powerful the being, the bigger the crystal you need to transform. If it is an expert at the Dao fruit level, you will need even more crystals. He looked at the silver crystal in his hand. If a Dao fruit wanted to transform with this level of crystal, it would probably need hundreds of millions of crystals. Afterward, Qin Shujian integrated all the silver crystals into the Godslayer, an immortal divine weapon. He had to rely on real power to strengthen himself. He was already a third heaven immortal now. Even if he absorbed all these silver crystals, it would not be of much use. After all, the transformation of his inner world was successful. To a real world, the silver crystals were equivalent to spirit stones. In such a big world, throwing a few spirit stones over wouldn't change anything. As for a perfected immortal, absorbing a few spirit stones was not as useful as breathing in and out spirit energy all the time. This comparison was not very appropriate, but it also meant that. So, the silver crystals were not useless to Qin Shujian, but there were too few of them. After integrating with the silver crystals, the Godslayer's aura seemed to be a little stronger, but there seemed to be no change. To this, he did not care. Looking at the real power that was still attacking him, Qin Shujian's expression was indifferent. I have transformed into a real existence, but I am still attacked by real power. Could it be that real power is actually self-aware? He thinks that the universe here is his food, and I am like an outsider who wants to snatch his food. At this time, he will intervene to stop him. There was no basis for this guess. However, Qin Shujian believed it without a doubt. In the next moment, the long saber slashed out, and a strong evil aura burst out. All the real power that came into contact with it was destroyed one after another. Soon, the silver crystals fell. He reached out and collected them, and then put them all into the Godslayer. Originally, Qin Shujian was not very clear that there would be such an opportunity at the end of the universe. Compared to the real power of the core of heaven and earth, the real power around the universe was truly endless. Moreover, there was no need to worry about being detected by the way of heaven of the several player worlds if he wantonly absorbed power here. Because they were all real power, but there were also different camps. The real power of the core of heaven and earth, it came from several player worlds. However, the true power around Huan Yu came from another place. Seriously speaking, in the world of several players, they were actually the same as thieves. In the hands of other real power, they snatched things that were beneficial to them. For me, this is equivalent to a natural paradise. I don't have to think so much anymore. I can improve my strength as much as possible. Qin Shujian had a smile on his face. He did not intend to look for that person now. The other party had been here for so long. It was very likely that he had already transformed successfully. In terms of strength, he might not be weaker than him, or even much stronger than him. In view of this, Qin Shujian did not intend to waste the resources here. A small amount of real power was useless. But if there was a large amount of real power, then it would be of great use. Immediately, he put away the Godslayer and then opened his hands. Buzz! The void rumbled. Flames! Red flames! They emerged from Qin Shujian's body and then rose crazily at a speed visible to the naked eye. Not long after, one could see that the flames spread to the sky and directly turned into a huge red lotus blooming. The red lotus was vast. All of the cultivators transformed from true power turned into silver crystals the moment they were enveloped by the red lotuses. In that instant, the real power that fell was in the hundreds of thousands. Qin Shujian had another thought. All the silver crystals were swept away by him and thrown into his inner world. 1 or 2 silver crystals did not have much effect. But 100,000 or 1,000,000 silver crystals, that would be extraordinary. As the silver crystals fell, the power of the inner world rose at an extremely fast speed. That kind of rise, it was equivalent to an increase in spirit energy. Many cultivators with sharp senses found that their bottlenecks were loosening. In the real power, Qin Shujian walked there as if he was taking a stroll. The red lotus of purgation above his head bloomed and burned all the real power that came close to him. Since he came in until now, about half a year had passed. Regarding the changes in time, he had been holding on tightly and would not relax at all. After all, if he had been in here for too long, it would have caused the boundless world to be broken by the player's heavenly axiom. That would have been too ridiculous. Half a year. Qin Shujian was not without any gains. First of all, with the influx of a large amount of real power, the inner world was further improved. Until now, the upper limit had reached the level of a 5th-level immortal. At the same time, his realm had also officially entered the level of a 4th-level immortal from a 3rd-level immortal. Moreover, it was not as simple as an ordinary 4th-level immortal. He had reached the middle stage of the 4th-level immortal. Don't underestimate the leap of a small realm. At Qin Shujian's realm, any small breakthrough was a huge transformation. All of a sudden, the red lotus disappeared. A tall and sturdy figure appeared in front of him. "Qin Emperor, we meet." A majestic voice sounded in the void as if it could shatter everything. Hearing that, Qin Shujian's gaze also fell on the other party. "You've seen me before?" The moment he saw the other party, a name, it had emerged from his mind. Pangu. In the Third Era, there were not many people who dared to enter the real world. Qin Emperor was one of them. "I was lucky enough to meet you once." Pangu's expression was calm. But when he looked at Qin Shujian, there was a hint of emotion in his eyes. "I thought I was lonely, but I didn't expect to have a companion like Qin Emperor." "It's a good thing." The fellow traveler that he had mentioned. What was he referring to? Qin Shujian was also very clear. It was getting rid of the false and retaining the true. It was also breaking all laws with one force. It's said that Pan Wang is an expert of the immortal saint realm. Now it seems that Pan Wang has already gotten rid of the false and retained the true. Such a cultivation is really admirable. He smiled faintly. In his eyes, the Pangu in front of him was not an expert of the immortal saint realm at all, but an expert of the true immortal realm. But this true immortal, not a true immortal of the virtual world, but a true immortal of the real world. Not only that. In Qin Shujian's perception, the other party was at least at the peak of the middle 3 grades, or even in existence of the upper 3 grades. Coupled with his identity as the number 1 divine demon, to be honest, even if he used all his trump cards, he might not be able to contend against him. At this moment, another real force came charging over. Pangu held a huge axe in his right hand and then swung it forward fiercely. The axe light slashed down as if it could devour everything. All the real force was strangled, and then silver crystals fell one after another. Immediately after, it was as if he was very skilled. Half of the silver crystals were swallowed by himself, and the other half were fed to the huge axe in his hand. After doing all this, Pangu looked at Qin Shujian again. "I have been here for a long time. Since the First Era, I have been here. I originally thought that I could rely on my own strength to change the outcome of the destruction of the universe. Unfortunately, the real force is too strong after all. My strength alone is limited. If the Qin Emperor doesn't come, I won't be able to hold on for long." His tone was calm. However, his words were filled with killing intent. Although that's the case, if not for Pan King, this era would have collapsed long ago. Qin Shujian looked impressed. To be able to stay here since the First Era to stop the real forces from invading, the other party had already done enough. If it were other Dao fruits, they definitely wouldn't be able to do what Pangu did. Speaking of which, among the many experts in the First Era, he had the best impression of Pangu. Perhaps it was because Pangu had the most rumors, or perhaps it was because when he was weak, he had once relied on Pangu's name to save his life. These things, it was not an experience that was difficult to recall. After a pause, Qin Shujian said, "The great wide world has long been prepared. Pan King should have also sensed the involvement of a few foreign heavenly Dao. Now that the war is imminent, there's no need for Pan King to stay here. Therefore, I plan to invite Pangu back to resist the upcoming calamity." He was frank. After all, in the current situation, there was no use for Pangu to stay here. It was important to stop the invasion of the real forces. However, in the current situation, the invasion of true strength could be put aside for later. The reason was simple. Now that the player world was about to attack, once the great wide world failed, all living beings would be destroyed, and the universe would collapse. Then, Pangu's defense would be meaningless. Taking a step back, if the great wide world won, then the great wide world would officially rise from an illusory world to a real level. In this way, even if the real forces invaded, it would not have any effect on the great wide world. Of course, only the great wide world would transform. The universe would still collapse under the invasion of the real forces. However, it did not matter whether the universe collapsed or not. As long as the great wide world still existed, everything would still exist. The meaning of the universe's existence was just a buffer. Now, there was no need. This buffer no longer existed, it was acceptable. Hearing this, Pangu was silent for a moment before he said calmly, "Emperor Qin, are you confident?" "If Pangu doesn't make a move, I'm only 70% confident. However, if King Pan is willing to help, I'm 100% confident." Qin Shujian said confidently. The power of the inner world was already stronger than that of the player world at this stage. The biggest threat to the player world was the way of the heavens. Apart from that, everything else was a small problem. As for dealing with the way of the heavens, he did not have the confidence to deal with all the way of the heavens in the player world. However, if Pangu made a move, then the problem would not be big. No matter what, he was dealing with the #1 god fiend of the first era. He might be the most powerful existence since the birth of the universe. If the other party could not deal with the way of the heavens, then their struggle would be meaningless, 100%. Pangu looked at him deeply. It seems that the Emperor Qin is very confident. To be honest, since I was born, the Emperor Qin is the first person I can't see through. Even if it's Hongjun, I can see through him clearly. The person in front of him, he was an expert like him, who could get rid of the false and retain the true. In the illusory world, not everyone was qualified to get rid of the false and retain the true. The other party could do it. That meant a lot of things. Then, Pangu said, "Since the Emperor Qin has invited me, I have no reason to refuse. After a few eras, I'm tired of staying here. Since the upper-class world is going to war, then count me in." "All right." Qin Shujian smiled. The 4 continents. When Qin Shujian left the upper-class world and headed to the void of the universe, the changes in the world were also intensifying day by day. The first one. It was the players who attacked the various clans and sects, causing the various clans to suffer heavy losses. When it first started, with the top combat strength of the various clans, they could still forcefully suppress the players. But later on, the players' true strength was unsealed more and more, and the top experts of the various clans were gradually unable to suppress the situation. In the end, with the fall of a true immortal. At this point, the players ushered in a new peak. Being able to kill a true immortal was equivalent to being able to kill a second or third true immortal. Although the myriad clans were strong, but there were more players in the 4 worlds. For the opportunity, the players attacked as a group, constantly attacking the various clans. For a moment, the 4 great continents were plunged into chaos. Dong! The heavy and melodious sound of the bell swept through the void of heaven and earth. In the face of this force, many players turned into white light and died. However, at the same time as the players died, more players launched attacks, bombarding Fang Xinglan. In the face of such power, Fang Xinglan's expression changed slightly. With a wave of his hand, a formation descended. But it was useless. The formation only existed for a few seconds before it was broken by a tyrannical force. Puchi! The tinny bell blocked in front of him. The terrifying force penetrated the bell and fell behind him. Suddenly, his body collapsed and he spat out blood as he retreated. Seeing this, a player suddenly became spirited. Fang Xinglan is already injured. Kill him and then attack the Qianyuan sacred ground. All the cultivation methods and martial arts will be ours. Kill! Attack the Qianyuan sacred ground. The players were all excited. Attack the Qianyuan sacred ground. This was the goal of their operation. The Qianyuan sacred ground was the most powerful human sacred ground besides the Great Zhao Empire. There were countless cultivation methods and martial arts stored in it. it was simply not comparable to others. As long as they broke through the sacred ground, then everything was no longer a problem. Now that Fang Xinglan was injured, killing the other party was no longer a problem. After all, the biggest advantage of players was that they could be resurrected continuously. In comparison, the NPC in front of them had no chance to be resurrected. Looking at the many players coming to kill him, Fang Xinglan's face showed a fierce look. He did not retreat. Instead, his immortal core power surged. He had the idea of holding the Tianyi bell and dying together with the others. In the end, although he was the deputy sacred lord of the Qianyuan sacred ground, before this, he was still the supreme elder of the Celestial Array sect. The Celestial Array sect was able to develop safely all because of Fang Xinglan's tough methods. So, this Array ancestor, he had never lacked the determination to die together with the others. Just as Fang Xinglan was about to die together with the players, a terrifying force came down from the void. A hearty voice came out, interrupting his actions. "Sacred Lord Fang, why are you so impulsive? It's just a small problem. Leave it to me." At the same time as the voice fell, he saw a huge palm descending from the void. At that moment, all the players were quietly annihilated in front of this force. One palm. Hundreds of thousands of players were wiped out. Such power, it shocked Fang Xinglan, and at the same time, it also shocked the remaining players. One had to know, the players now were no longer the players at the beginning. They had more real power, so that every player had a strong power. Some of the top players, it was not a problem for them to rival a true immortal. It was impossible for the top masters of the past to wipe out many players with one palm to happen again. But now, something that was impossible to happen had actually happened. For a moment, many players were horrified, looking at the person who fell from the void and slowly walked in front of Fang Xinglan. That face, for many people, it was very unfamiliar. But for Fang Xinglan, this face could not be more familiar to him. Elder Zhang. His mouth opened for a moment, and for a moment, he almost forgot how to address him. Because, Fang Xinglan still remembered the scene when he defeated Qin Yuanbai on the sacred battle platform. Logically speaking, if the other party did not leave, then the position of Sacred Lord should be his. But since he left, it was not appropriate to address him as Sacred Lord. After thinking about it, in the end, he still decided to address him as Elder. "Sacred Lord Fang, we meet again." Zhang Ergu looked at Fang Xinglan, who looked a little miserable, with a faint smile on his face. After so many years in the inner world, his temperament had changed a lot. If it weren't for the fact that his appearance had not changed, Fang Xinglan almost suspected that he had recognized the wrong person. "You people dare to attack the Qianyuan sacred ground. You are simply too bold. Well, I will let you understand that the Qianyuan sacred ground is not to be bullied by people like you." Zhang Ergu took a step forward, looking at the remaining players. A terrifying aura raged in the void. All the players. In front of this aura, they instinctively took a step back. Immediately afterward, a player roared, deliberately mystifying, "Kill him." Boom! As soon as the voice of the person who spoke fell, he was crushed into powder by a terrifying force. There was a sudden change. Before the other players could be shocked, they saw Zhang Ergu take a step forward, and a palm print came out. The palm print seemed to contain a world, enveloping all the players. One palm. Just one palm. All the players, who had just erupted with power, were all swallowed up and annihilated by the palm print. Countless streams of light burst out and disappeared in place. After all this, Zhang Ergu withdrew his palm, as calm as before, as if he did not care at all. Seeing this, Fang Xinglan on the side sighed with emotion. Elder Zhang's strength is even more terrifying than before. In the past, when they were fighting for the position of Sacred Lord, although Zhang Ergu's strength was strong, it was not to this extent. Until now, the power displayed by the other party made his heart palpitate. Fang Xinglan had a hunch. If that palm was aimed at him, he would definitely not be able to resist it. and he was in the Qianyuan sacred ground. His strength was not much weaker than the others. In other words, Zhang Ergu's current strength was completely qualified to be called the strongest person in the Qianyuan sacred ground. After killing many players, Zhang Ergu turned to look at Fang Xinglan. "Sacred Lord Fang, how is the situation in the sacred ground now?" After coming out of seclusion, because the matter of the players was suppressed by Xiao Qingfeng, there was nothing much to do. During this time, he stayed in the Yuan sect to cultivate. Until now, he sensed that the players were attacking, so he temporarily came out of seclusion to support Fang Xinglan. Fortunately, he did not come too late. Otherwise, the Qianyuan sacred ground would have one less sacred lord. Hearing this, Fang Xinglan's expression was solemn. They are now attacking on a large scale, and the human race has been attacked to varying degrees. These players even slaughtered the cities and killed many people in order to obtain benefits. It is not an exaggeration to say that they are completely crazy. Now, the Qianyuan sacred ground has sent out all the strong people to assist the Great Zhao in guarding the cities and ensuring the safety of the cities. Although their top strength is not strong, their overall strength is not weak at all. Even if we defend with all our strength, we can't defend much. In the eyes of the players, the people in the great wide world were walking experience bags. No matter how many they killed, they would not have any psychological fluctuations. In the past, with the deterrence of the strong people, it was not worth it to die once. They would not easily attack. But now that the overall strength of the players had increased, the deterrence of the strong people in the past had no effect at all. In this way, the players had completely let go of themselves, slaughtering the cities and exterminating the races. It was very common. As long as it was something that could give them experience, they would not let it go. Because of this, the Qianyuan sacred ground would go all out to help the Great Zhao fight against the players. Yes, it was just a fight. In the face of the huge number of players and the strong people, the human race had no possibility of counterattacking. And the most simple reason was that the players were immortal. Unless they could kill all the players, they could not threaten them at all. From Fang Xinglan's words, Zhang Ergu understood the seriousness of the current situation. He frowned. The players are immortal, but we have Zhu Bing who can also kill the players. Why don't we use Zhu Bing to deter them? Zhu Bing's deterrence is too little after all. Fang Xinglan shook his head. Zhu Bing could kill players, but how many players could he kill? Now there were more than hundreds of millions of players in the eastern continent. Even if they had Zhu Bing and killed players all over the world, compared to the huge number of players, they could not kill many. Speaking of this, he paused for a moment. And the Emperor of Heaven once ordered that we could not kill players wantonly. We did not dare to disobey. I see. Zhang Ergu took a deep breath. He also remembered what Qin Shujian had said before. They could not kill players wantonly. If they wanted to kill players wantonly, they had to wait for an order. Fang Xinglan glanced at the sky. Zhang Ergu withdrew his gaze. Array Ancestor, go to the heavenly court and ask the Emperor of Heaven. Leave the matter of the Qianyuan sacred ground to me for the time being. Okay. Fang Xinglan nodded solemnly. He did not refuse. Zhang Ergu's strength was much stronger than his. It was better to have him stay than to have 10 of him. In fact, Fang Xinglan had long wanted to go to the heavenly court to ask about the situation. But until now, the Qianyuan sacred ground was too busy, so he had put this plan on hold. Kill! Outside Zhongyang City, a large number of troops had gathered, forming a powerful military formation, and were fighting with the players. In the sky, more powerful cultivators were fighting in the void. Boom! Boom! Stop all the players. We must not let them break into Zhongyang City. A middle-aged man with a dignified face shouted loudly after killing a player with one palm. He was the current Marquis Baiyun. To be able to be sent by the Great Zhao to guard Baiyun Mansion, he was naturally not an ordinary powerhouse. Although he had not broken through to the true immortal realm. He had reached the limit of the celestial being realm. If it were an ordinary celestial being realm cultivator, he would not be qualified to resist in front of the current players. But the problem was, now that reality and illusion had merged, the real power was revealed. The cultivators between heaven and earth. There were a few people who managed to comprehend some true power. This part of the real power. It could make their strength undergo a powerful transformation. So, although the current Marquis Bayun was only a cultivator at the limit of the celestial being realm, he had a part of the real power, which was not much weaker than other true immortals. It was not a problem for him to deal with the players. However, he could deal with 1 player or 100 players. But it was not so easy to deal with 10,000 or 100,000 players. At a glance, the players besieging Zhongyang City were densely packed. Almost every moment, a large number of humans were dying. Fortunately, over the years, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had risen, and the soldiers trained by the great Zhao were also not weak. Then, the formation prospered. The military formation had also been deduced to a powerful level. A single soldier. Their strength was very weak for the players. But when they were combined into a military formation, their strength was terrifying. Otherwise, in just one confrontation, the power of Zhongyang City would be completely defeated. However, even so, in the opinion of the current Marquis Bayun, Zhongyang City would not be able to hold on for long. Damn it! These Inhumans are all crazy. Anger. Incomparable anger. Over the past few days, many cities in the Bayun mansion had been breached. The number of people who had died was even more uncountable. Now, these players were even more rampant to the point of besieging Zhongyang City. One had to know, Zhongyang City was the main city of the Bayun mansion. If Zhongyang City was breached, then the entire Bayun mansion would only exist in name. As the Marquis Bayun, he could only die in front of Zhongyang City. Those who are not of our race must have a different heart. They look like humans on the outside, but they are actually evil demons on the inside. In their eyes, we humans are just pigs and sheep to be slaughtered at will. In the Xiao family, Xiao Qingfeng was playing chess by himself, muttering to himself. He seemed to be saying it to others. It also seemed like he was saying it to himself. In the sea of consciousness. The sky-breaking halberd couldn't help but ask, "Immortal, now that the players are besieging Zhongyang City, are we really not going to take action?" He had an impulse. An impulse to immediately take action and kill all the players wantonly. However, Xiao Qingfeng was sitting here now, and it didn't seem like he was going to participate in the battle at all. This made the sky-breaking halberd feel a little anxious. Hearing this, Xiao Qingfeng shook his head slightly. Now is not the time to take action. After saying this, he didn't reply. He was waiting. Waiting for a suitable opportunity to take action. A piece was placed. Xiao Qingfeng looked at the sky, where the heavenly court was located. Right now, the players were attacking the myriad races on a large scale, causing them to suffer heavy losses. He didn't believe that the Emperor of Heaven didn't know it all. Since he knew. But he still didn't give any orders. That was somewhat thought-provoking. Xiao Qingfeng wasn't sure. Did Qin Shujian have other plans? The players are like a centipede, dying but not falling down. Unless we really kill them, otherwise, no matter how many we kill, we will only trap ourselves. He took a deep breath. All of a sudden, Xiao Qingfeng flicked his sleeves, and all the chess pieces were swept to the ground by him. He directly stood up from the stone bench. Forget it, I can't wait any longer. He shook his head. Instead, a relieved smile appeared on his face. In his mind, the sky-breaking halberd was energized. The immortal is going to take action? Yes. Xiao Qingfeng had a thought, and the sky-breaking halberd had already appeared in his hands. Looking at the battle outside the city, his eyes were blazing with passion. Although I am no longer Marquis Bayun, I am still considered a member of the human race. Moreover, Marquis Bayun has been in charge of the Xiao family for thousands of years. I don't want to be destroyed in the hands of others one day. Today, there are demons in my Bayun mansion. Then, I will slay the demons. Boom! In an instant, the weather changed. Xiao Qingfeng took a step out of the Xiao mansion, and a terrifying aura swept across the world like a wave. Soon, it rushed out of the Bayun mansion, crushing all the players. At that moment, whether it was the cultivators of the Bayun mansion, or the players who were besieging him, they were all shocked. Their gazes. They were all looking in the same direction. There. A person holding a halberd in his hand was walking out step by step. Marquis Bayun is here. Marquis Xiao. When the people of Zongyang City saw the figure, their eyes went from confusion to shock, and then to ecstasy. Shocking cheers erupted from the city. When the current Marquis Bayun heard this, he could not help but smile bitterly. They were both Marquis Bayun. The prestige of the current Marquis Bayun was obviously not as high as the former Marquis Bayun. But when he thought about it carefully, it was normal. The Xiao family had been in charge of the Bayun mansion for thousands of years, and he had only been in the Bayun mansion for a few years. In comparison, Xiao Qingfeng's prestige was obviously greater. Listening to the voices below, Xiao Qingfeng had a faint smile on his face, and then immediately said in a clear voice, "Today, there are demons in my Bayun mansion. As a member of the human race, how can I sit back and do nothing? Today, I will sacrifice myself to kill the demons and clear the world." As soon as he finished speaking, the sky-breaking halberd suddenly fell. Endless halberd light burst out, like the beauty of death, reflected in the eyes of all the players. Not good. Run. Feeling the destruction in the halberd light, all the players trembled in fear. They did not dare to fight directly. In fact, they did not even have the impulse to resist in their hearts. Everyone did not understand. Xiao Qingfeng was only a true immortal. At this stage, killing a true immortal was not a problem at all. Why were they both true immortals? Why was the other party so powerful? No one gave an answer. When the halberd light fell, a large number of players had already been cleared. Boom! Blood-red lightning burst out between heaven and earth, followed by surging golden light. It seemed like the heavenly Tao was angry. It also seemed like it was cheering. The sudden appearance of the strange phenomenon between heaven and earth, coupled with the clearing of a large number of players, the remaining players had a bad premonition in their hearts. At this moment, all the players in the 4 continents received a notification in their minds. An expert has broken through the limit and mastered the power to break the 2 worlds. He is slaughtering outside Zongyang City of the Bayun Mansion in the East Continent. All players, please be careful. An expert has broken through the limit and mastered the power to break the 2 worlds. He is slaughtering outside Zongyang City of the Bayun Mansion in the East Continent. All players, please be careful. An expert has broken through the limit and mastered the power to break the 2 worlds. He is slaughtering outside Zongyang City of the Bayun Mansion in the East Continent. All players, please be careful. 3 notifications in a row. Each notification was filled with an urgent voice. All of a sudden, all the players were in an uproar. What did it mean to master the power to break the 2 worlds? What was a massacre? Soon, some players thought of something else. Could it be that the power to break the 2 worlds can really kill players? As soon as this thought appeared, they were shocked by themselves. However, along with the sudden notification, this guess, no matter how one looked at it, was very logical. At the same time, it was not as simple as 1 or 2 players who had this thought in their minds. Most of the players thought of this matter. On the other side, outside Zongyang City, the remaining players looked at the strange phenomenon in the sky and the notifications in their minds. Their faces had turned pale. They were almost certain those players who died might have really died. In an instant. At this moment, the greed and killing intent in his heart completely disappeared. Run! They had to run. None of the players looked back and fled in all directions. They dared to attack Zongyang City because their biggest reliance was that they would not really die. Even if they died, they would be revived immediately. At most, they would drop by a small realm. But now, if they died in the hands of Xiao Qingfeng, they might really die. In that case, they did not dare to take the risk anymore. Looking at the players retreating, the current Marquis of Baiyun did not care so much. He immediately commanded all the troops and shouted, "Kill, those who offend the Baiyun mansion should be killed." On the other side, after Xiao Qingfeng killed a large number of players, he did not attack again. That attack, it seemed simple and ordinary. In fact, he had already used all his strength. Although he had comprehended part of the real power, the players also had a lot of real power. That attack had killed at least 1,000,000 players. To do this to this extent, even for him, it was not an easy task. Therefore, Xiao Qingfeng did not make a second attack. The strange phenomenon between heaven and earth. It also made him understand that his attack had completely caused some consequences. However, Xiao Qingfeng did not care much. Since he had decided to attack, then he would attack. He could not let Zongyang City be destroyed and Baiyun Mansion become a ghost town. Immediately, he came in front of the current Marquis of Baiyun. Eliminate all the players in Baiyun Mansion and at the same time, announce that if any player dares to gather and attack the city, I will personally kill them all. Do not think that you are immortal. I have plenty of ways to make them vanish into thin air. Xiao Qingfeng's expression was cold. Hearing this, the current Marquis of Baiyun was slightly stunned. He then nodded. I understand. Okay. Xiao Qingfeng nodded. He flew towards the heavenly court. After killing so many players, he did not have to worry about the remaining players attacking Zongyang City again. Although there were many players, they were not brave. So many people had died. It was enough to deter the remaining people. However, now that there was a strange phenomenon between heaven and earth, he had to report this to the heavenly court. In the East Continent, Yi Hong was walking when he suddenly received a prompt in his mind. He could not help but be stunned. Then, his expression became strange. Senior, I seem to have received some news. I think I already know. Qin Er looked at the strange phenomenon in the sky with a calm expression. He knew very well. The blood-red lightning was the expression of the heavenly Tao's anger. The emergence of the golden light was the expression of the heavenly Tao's joy. However, the angry heavenly Tao was the heavenly Tao of the player world. The joyful heavenly Tao. Naturally, it was the heavenly Tao of the vast thousand worlds. For the heavenly Tao of two different worlds to have such a commotion at the same time, Qin Er only needed to make a casual calculation to know what exactly had happened. The war is about to begin. If you are willing, I can take your life imprint from the original world and integrate it into another world. In that way, after the war, you will no longer be restricted by the original world's heavenly Tao. Qin Er said. He paused for a moment. However, your life imprint will be connected to the world after the transfer. If we fail, you will also fall with us, and there will be no possibility of rebirth. This was a choice. A choice that determined fate. To stay in the original world, or to transfer the life imprint to another world. Hearing this, Yi Hong was silent for a moment. If I choose the former, what will Senior do? In your original world, you have also eliminated many children of destiny. What you have obtained now can be considered as a reward. If you decide to stay in your original world, then our cooperation will end here. Of course, you don't have to worry that I will kill you. Just treat it as a friendly parting. Qin Er said faintly. Normally speaking, he would not leave a way out for any of his partners. Because those people all had powerful cultivation techniques and martial arts. If they were absorbed by the player world, then it would be a big threat. But now, the situation was different. The original body's removal of the false and retaining the truth, as well as the follow-up preparations, could be considered to have the confidence to fight head-on with several player worlds. What happened later? It was not so troublesome. In addition, he had a good impression of Yi Hong. Giving the other party a way out was naturally not a problem. Hearing this, Yi Hong asked again, "If I choose to transfer, what can I get?" "If you lose, you will die. If you win, the benefits you will get are beyond your imagination." "Then I understand." Yi Hong nodded, then shook his head and laughed. "In the original world, I have nothing to worry about. Heaven and earth treated me unfairly. Naturally, I will not work for him anymore. If Senior can, please transfer me." Everything he had now, it could be said, it was all given by Qin Shujian. In comparison, the treatment given to him by the original world was really bad. Now that the Yi family was completely destroyed, there seemed to be nothing worth considering. Transfer. Then transfer. Anyway, from the beginning when he decided to be a world trader, many things were already destined. Qin Er said, "Have you thought about it?" "Yes." "Well, you go to the Heavenly Court now, and I will naturally transfer the life imprint for you." Heavenly Court. In front of the Heavenly Palace. Many immortals and experts of the 10,000 races were gathered here. "I want to see the Emperor of Heaven. I want to see the Emperor of Heaven." Some of the gods looked indifferent, but some looked anxious. Mu Yang blocked in front with a helpless look on his face. "The Emperor of Heaven hasn't replied yet, and I can't barge in without permission. With the Emperor of Heaven's supernatural powers, nothing can be hidden from his perception. Since he hasn't issued an order yet, everyone should wait patiently." Looking at the gods in front of him, Mu Yang was really helpless. He knew very well, if there wasn't an emergency, there wouldn't be so many immortals gathered in front of the Heavenly Palace to see the Emperor of Heaven. But the problem was, now that the gate of the inner hall of the Heavenly Palace was locked, he had no way of entering. In the past, he could report because the inner hall of the Heavenly Palace wasn't locked, so he could enter and leave freely. Now, the gate of the inner hall of the Heavenly Palace was locked. It was very likely the Emperor of Heaven was in seclusion. In this case, Mu Yang didn't dare to disturb him. Or rather, there was no way to disturb him. Fang Xinglan's face was ugly. Now the players are rampant and are about to attack the Qianyuan sacred ground. I hope the Emperor of Heaven can make a decision on this matter. Otherwise, I'm afraid there will be endless trouble in the future. Yes, our clan is facing the same problem. Now the players are tyrannical. In a few days, many of our experts have died in battle. If this continues, the extinction of our clan will not be far away. We implore the Emperor of Heaven to issue an order. Those immortals who were emperors of their clans all looked anxious. If it was on a normal day, if they couldn't see Qin Shujian, they would leave directly. But not now. The power of the players was too rampant. The players who besieged Zhongyang City were directly killed by Xiao Chengfeng. However, compared to the huge player base of the 4 continents, the players in Zhongyang City were only a small number. When Xiao Chengfeng arrived, he saw the presence of many immortals. He didn't speak. He just stood there silently, waiting for something. Hearing this, Mu Yang said helplessly, "The Heavenly Emperor is currently in seclusion, and I have no way to report it. Either you go back first, or you wait here for the time being. As for the specifics, I can't give a definite answer." He really had no way. If there was a way, he wouldn't be in a dilemma now. When the other immortals saw this, they couldn't say anything more. However, no one left. They all stayed in front of the Heavenly Palace and waited. After all, they couldn't solve the problem if they went back. It was better to stay here. At this moment, the door of the inner hall of the Heavenly Palace suddenly opened, and a voice came into the ears of everyone in the heavenly court. "Let's enter the inner hall of the heavenly palace for a meeting." It was a magnificent voice. Not only did it reach the ears of the immortals in the heavenly court, but it also reached the ears of the underworld, the purple cloud sea, the demon palace, and the great Lane temple. A meeting in the heavenly palace. Hongjun's expression was strange. From the current words, the other party seemed to have the intention of summoning him. If it was in the past, he wouldn't pay attention to it at all. A Dao ancestor had a Dao ancestor's prestige. How could it be summoned by others? Even the Emperor of Heaven's position was inferior to that of a Dao ancestor. But the problem was, the current Emperor of Heaven was Qin Shujian. In terms of strength, the other party could be considered the number one person in this era. Especially the changes in front of him, Hongjun had the urge to understand. At this moment, heading to the heavenly palace might be able to understand some things. Thinking of this, he didn't hesitate. His body directly disappeared from the purple cloud palace. On the other side, in the heavenly abyss demon palace, Luoho also withdrew from his state of enlightenment. His expression was strange, and then he disappeared from the demon palace and headed straight for the heavenly court. The underworld. The Great Lane Temple. They were all doing the same thing. All the hidden experts in the world gathered towards the heavenly palace without any hesitation the moment they received the summons. Inside the palace, Niu Dali, who was comprehending the Taiji diagram, also withdrew from his cultivation state. He looked at the gently trembling Taiji diagram in front of him. He waved his hand and put it away, then walked towards the heavenly palace. Chapter 1134. In the inner hall of the heavenly palace, Qin Shujian sat on the throne. Beside him, there were several seats set up for him. In the seat closest to him, there was a tall and sturdy man who was sitting there with a bold air. When the immortals and gods of the heavenly court entered one after another, they were all stunned when they saw the burly man. They were curious. What kind of expert was qualified to sit next to the Emperor of Heaven? In everyone's memory, there was no record of the burly man. However, although they were puzzled, they didn't ask too much. When they saw Qin Shujian, they immediately bowed and saluted. "Greetings, Emperor of Heaven. You may dispense with the formalities." "Thank you, Emperor of Heaven." The gods straightened up. At this moment, Niu Dali and Chu Kuangtu also arrived. Although they existed in the heavenly court, they were not considered officials of the heavenly court, so the two of them didn't appear during the court meetings in the past. But this time, all the people that Qin Shujian summoned were no exception. It was just that so far, neither of them had recovered the strength of the Dao fruit realm. But in the eyes of the two above, Niu Dali and Chu Kuangtu had actually begun to master a part of their true power. Because of this, the two of them had not broken through to the Dao fruit realm. Otherwise, with their foundation and current resources, breaking through was almost not a big problem. "Emperor Qin." Niu Dali cupped his hands slightly, but his eyes fell on the person on the left. In his memory, he had no memory of the other party at all. Normally speaking, needless to say, those who were qualified to sit next to Qin Shujian were at the Dao fruit realm. But for the Dao fruits of heaven and earth, Niu Dali was sure. He knew almost all of them. But the person in front of him was so strange. It wasn't just Niu Dali who was puzzled. Chu Kuangtu was also puzzled. It was just that the current occasion was not suitable for them to ask directly, so the two of them suppressed the doubts in their hearts and did not ask rashly. At this moment, the void in the inner hall of the heavenly palace shook, and then a white-bearded Taoist appeared there. "Since the Dao ancestor is here, please take a seat." Seeing the person who came, Qin Shujian smiled slightly. "Dao ancestor." The others turned their eyes to Hongjun. Dao ancestor Hongjun. Many people had only heard of his name, but had never seen him in person. At this moment, after seeing Hong Jun, his heart was naturally shaken. Hong Jun. Niu Dali fixed his eyes on Hong Jun. He already knew. The Tai Ching holy man. He died in Hong Jun's hands. For Niu Dali, Hong Jun was an enemy. If not for the fact that he was not powerful enough, he would have struck now to avenge the Tai Ching holy man Qin Emperor. Hong Jun cupped his fist. When his gaze landed on the burly man, his originally calm eyes suddenly shrank. Pangu. He would never have thought that he would see Pangu here. Yes. How could Pangu fall? However, how did Qin Shujian find Pangu? What kind of agreement did the two of them reach? Thoughts churned in Hong Jun's mind as he thought of a strategy to deal with it. In the meantime, he went to another empty seat and sat down. Pangu. Hearing Hong Jun's exclamation, the others were stunned. Pangu? Who was that? For the powerful cultivators of this era, Hong Jun's name was only hearsay. They were even more confused about who Pangu was. However, some were confused, while others were extremely shocked. Niu Dali's gaze shifted from Hong Jun to Pangu. Pangu. That was Pangu. He recalled the Tai Ching holy man's instructions and took out the Taiji diagram. Great God Pangu, this is the treasure left behind by the Tai Ching holy man. He said that there's something you need inside. Please take a look. Tai Ching. Pangu heard this and looked at the Taiji diagram below. With a thought, the Taiji diagram flew towards him. When the Taiji diagram landed in his hand, there was a nostalgic look in his eyes. I didn't expect to see you after so many years. Pangu was very familiar with the existence of the Taiji diagram. That was the treasure he had created after his first supreme treasure was shattered. However, now that he had another supreme treasure, the Taiji diagram was of little use to him. His palm landed on the Taiji diagram. Suddenly, the Taiji diagram vibrated gently. A ball of clear light rose from the diagram and appeared in front of Pangu. The clear light was dense. Pangu swallowed the clear light and closed his eyes. After a few breaths, he opened his eyes again. Then, he returned the Taiji diagram. Since he left the Taiji diagram to you, this treasure is yours from now on. Thank you, great God. Niu Dali bowed to express his gratitude. Chu Kuangtu was so shocked that he could not speak. Great God Pangu. Even though he was a Dao fruit of the second era, he had heard of Pangu's name. He was a supreme existence of the first era. In other words, among all the Dao fruit experts of the first era, Pangu was synonymous with the strongest. Then there was Hong Jun. To some extent, he could not be compared to Pangu. Chu Kuangtu did not expect. Pangu did not die and appeared in the heavenly court. At this moment, the rest of the people also arrived. The first to arrive was Luo Ho. After seeing Pangu's face, he felt like he was struck by lightning. Pangu. He looked at that face. It was as if he saw the terrifying fierce god who held a giant axe and killed all 3,000 gods and demons countless years ago. Among all the Dao fruits, who was the person Rahu feared the most? Without a doubt, it was Pangu. Even for Hong Jun, he only had resentment. But in terms of fear, there was not much fear. Only this supreme existence who killed 3,000 gods and demons and broke the chaos with his own strength could make Luo Ho feel sincere fear. Because his predecessor was also one of the 3,000 gods and demons. When he was at his strongest, he fell in the hands of Pangu, although he was reborn later. However, the fear that was engraved in his bones was not something that could be erased so easily. After the shock, Luo Ho also forced himself to calm down. Don't panic. He was the demon ancestor. Although his strength had not fully recovered, he was still at the Dao fruit level. And there were so many people present now. If he lost his composure, it would be a little embarrassing. Thinking of this, Luoho looked away from Pangu with difficulty, and then his expression returned to normal. Ahem, Emperor Qin. He cupped his hands slightly. Qin Shujian smiled and said, since the demon ancestor is here, please take a seat. Thank you. Luoho said and sat down in one of the few empty seats. It was worth mentioning. He deliberately sat on Hongjun's side and did not approach Pangu. Goddess Pingxin. Buddha Sakya. The two of them arrived at the same time. After seeing Pangu, they bowed and then sat down in the empty seats. At this moment, the immortals and gods of the heavenly court also understood that this court meeting was not simple. The experts that they had never seen in the past appeared one after another this time. There was no problem. That was absolutely impossible. Qin Emperor, before we begin, there is something that I would like to settle. Pangu suddenly spoke. Hearing this, Qin Shujian's expression did not change as he nodded. If King Pan has something to do, just settle it yourself. I just hope that it won't cause too much of a commotion. Of course. Pangu nodded. Then, he looked at Hongjun Dao Ancestor. Some things have been in your hands for a long time. It's time to return them. Hongjun seemed to have expected this. His expression was normal as he said calmly, I naturally won't take things that don't belong to me. Back then, I only thought that the great god had fallen, so I kept them for him. Now that the great god is here, I should return them to their rightful owner. As soon as he finished speaking, with a wave of his hand, he released the two balls of clear qi. The moment the two balls of clear air appeared, a terrifying aura was emitted. Luoho sneered. Hongjun, you're really scheming. You actually targeted the souls of the three pure ones. Unfortunately, the original owner is here now, so your plan has failed. Two balls of clear air. Every cloud of clear qi represented the essence of a powerhouse's divine soul. Of course, Luoho understood why Hongjun put away these things. Looking at the two balls of clear air, Pangu opened his mouth and swallowed them. The clear air descended. A mysterious fluctuation was emitted from his body, making people involuntarily submit to him. Qin Shujian cupped his hands and said, Pan King's soul is perfected. I congratulate you here. Congratulations, great god Pangu. Goddess Pingxin and Buddha Sakya also congratulated him. The rest did not speak. Some did not want to say it, and some did not know how to say it. After a long time, Pangu smiled and said, if it weren't for the Qin Emperor's invitation, I wouldn't have known that the scattered soul was actually here. Dao Ancestor, if there's a chance in the future, please return the favor. Hongjun chuckled without the slightest fear. He could not see any clues about Pangu. However, the other party was an existence of the immortal saint realm, so it was normal that he could not see anything. However, once he reached the immortal saint realm, he would also be an expert of the immortal saint realm. To be honest, even if he really fought, Hongjun admitted that even if he was not as good as Pangu, he would not be much weaker. With such strength as his confidence, he was not afraid of Pangu's threat at all. After a short conversation, it was silent. Qin Shujian looked at the gods of the heavenly court below and said in a clear voice, the invasion of the player world has intensified, causing many players to control a lot of real power. Although none of the players have broken through to the true immortal realm. However, there is a gap between reality and illusion. As long as a player of the celestial realm controls too much real power, it will not be a problem for him to suppress a true immortal. At this point, he paused for a moment. The players are otherworldly demons. Now that they have descended into the world, their purpose is to destroy our world. In the eyes of the players, the myriad races of the boundless world are also ants that can be killed at will. No matter how many of them die, the players will not be soft-hearted at all. From the beginning, the boundless world and the players are irreconcilable. I asked you to hide your strength and bide your time in order to accumulate enough strength to deal with the upcoming battle. But now that you have accumulated enough, We don't have to tolerate it anymore. And the Eastern War God originally borrowed Zhu Bing's power to kill a large number of players, which has already alerted the Heavenly Axiom. It won't be long before the Heavenly Axiom launches a large-scale attack. At that time, all the sealed real power of the players will be completely released. At that time, any player will be able to fight across at least a realm. The strong ones can even fight across 2 realms. It is no longer impossible for a celestial to kill a true immortal, or a divine marshal to kill a true immortal. A celestial to kill a true immortal. In the boundless world, some powerhouses with a deep foundation might be able to do it. But if a divine marshal to kill a true immortal, that would be too shocking. They were very clear. How many divine martial realm cultivators were there among the current players? If a divine marshal to kill a true immortal, then among the players, there would be hundreds of millions of true immortals. When the battle began. Not to mention anything else. Just this divine martial realm cultivator, who was comparable to a true immortal, could destroy all races. So, after hearing Qin Shujian's words, the expressions of all the deities changed. Even if they knew from the beginning how terrifying real power was. But when the other party said it, only then did they truly understand. How powerful would a player who had completely unlocked the seal be? Qin Shujian said, in order to prevent the situation of a divine marshal to kill a true immortal, from now on, all races don't have to hold back and kill all players with all their might. Remember, there are only 2 kinds of power that can kill players. The first is the power of faith of Zhu Bing. The second is the true power of the players themselves. Only these 2 kinds of power can truly kill the players. Now, it has been quite some time since the true power has been integrated into the boundless world. All the talented people in the myriad races have probably integrated a part of the true power. And this part of the true power will be the foundation of your foothold. Kill the players. Zhu Bing. True power. The gods clenched their fists tightly. Zhu Bing was very rare among the myriad races, but they didn't lack true power at all. It was just as Qin Shujian had said. Right now, as long as the talented cultivators of the myriad races were able to grasp a part of the true power, it was just a matter of how much. But dealing with the players at this stage wasn't a big problem. At this point, Qin Shujian looked at Xiao Chengfeng and Emperor Zhao. Now that the human race has the most Zhu Bing, I hope that the human race will do their best to kill the players of the Eastern continent. When they have the strength to spare, help the other races to kill the players of the other 3 continents. I want to kill as many players as possible in the shortest time. We can't give them any chance to react. Yes. Both of them nodded in response. Recently, the players had been wreaking havoc in the Eastern continent, and Emperor Zhao had endured long enough. Now, he had the chance to kill them. Naturally, he couldn't hold back. When the gods received their orders and retreated, Yi Zichen felt a chill run down his spine. In the heavenly palace's inner hall, only a few Dao fruits, Niu Dali, and Chu Kuangtu were left. The scene was silent for a while. Qin Shujian was the first to speak, breaking the silence. I won't beat around the bush. It's about time. Whether we can devour the player's world and let the boundless world transform successfully depends on this moment. The speed at which the myriad races kill the players is not enough. Everyone, please make a move. The strength of a world's heavenly Tao. Many factors were combined. Among them, the biggest factor was the number of living beings and the number of powerhouses. A world. If all living beings were destroyed, then even if the heavenly Tao was still around, the power it could exert would be limited. In the past, in order to avoid the heavenly Tao of the players' worlds going crazy, Qin Shujian had not attacked the players too much. After all, once a large number of players were massacred. After the heavenly Tao noticed, they would definitely invade regardless of everything. At that time, the situation would be completely out of control. However, looking at the many Dao fruits and the power of the inner world that was ready, Qin Shujian felt that he no longer had anything to fear. Kill! Kill the players with all their might. Amit Ba. Buddha Sakya chanted the name of Buddha. His face was expressionless. The players are otherworldly demons. We Buddhists should be responsible for eliminating demons. Let me deal with the players of the northern continent. Among the many forces, the Buddhists were the weakest. Therefore, at this moment, Buddha Sakya took the lead to express his stance. Immediately after, Goddess Pingxin smiled faintly. The underworld is located in the middle of the 4 continents. However, there are no experts in the southern continent. Let the underworld deal with the players of the southern continent. Sure. Qin Shujian nodded. Just as the other party had said, the southern continent was the only place where there were no Dao fruits. It was reasonable for the underworld to be in charge of the southern continent. Immediately after, Luo Ho said, the demon palace is located in the western continent. I will handle the matters of the western continent. I will take over the matters of the eastern continent. Hong Jun also said faintly. Hearing that, Qin Shujian nodded. The heavenly Dao of the players' worlds will definitely not tolerate the destruction of the players. A war is inevitable. Pan Wang and I will mainly fight the heavenly Dao. For this, the other Dao fruits did not object. Compared to destroying the players, fighting the heavenly Dao was the real problem. At this moment, Hong Jun suddenly looked at Qin Shujian and asked the question that had been buried in his heart for a long time. May I ask, Emperor Qin, have you really succeeded? Succeeded? Qin Shujian shook his head and gave an ambiguous answer. I guess so. But if you don't really solve the problem at hand, how can you say that you have succeeded? An answer. Hong Jun's heart skipped a beat. I didn't expect the Emperor Qin to walk ahead of me in the end. Congratulations. A bitter smile appeared on his face. He had pursued this for several eras, but in the end, the other party had succeeded before him. To be honest, Hong Jun's heart was also filled with mixed feelings. When he looked at Pangu again, obviously, this supreme god fiend of the first era had probably succeeded. Or else, he was not qualified to be on equal footing with Qin Shujian. One had to know whether the transformation was successful or not. It was 2 different extremes. After the discussion ended, many Dao fruits left. In the inner hall of the heavenly palace, Qin Shujian and Pangu were still sitting there. After a long time, Pangu said, Emperor Qin, do you think the heavenly Dao will join forces to get rid of us first, or will they first decide the outcome and then enjoy their fruits as winners? I think they will get rid of us first. Qin Shujian smiled faintly. He looked at the sky above the heavenly palace, where the phenomenon in the sky was. If we don't have the power to resist, they will deal with us after the outcome is decided. But now that we have shown the power to resist, they will deal with the threat first. The heavenly Dao is rational. He will choose the most beneficial way for himself. The heavenly Dao was rational. It meant that the heavenly Dao would not overestimate anyone, but it would not underestimate any threat either. Pangu was silent. Qin Shujian's words were similar to his thoughts. Suddenly, the door of the inner hall of the heavenly palace opened. 2 people walked in from outside. One was Yi Hong. The other was Zhong Yi. Greetings, Emperor of Heaven. You are here. Qin Shujian had expected it. As he waved his hand, 2 beams of clear light floated up from the 2 of them. Then, the clear light flew away. In the blink of an eye, it fell on Qin Shujian's body. At the same time, Yi Hong and Zhong Yi were both stunned. They found out. The incarnation of the Emperor of Heaven that originally existed in their sea of consciousness had quietly disappeared without a trace. Such a change. It made the 2 of them a little flustered. The incarnation of the Emperor of Heaven had existed for so long. Now that it suddenly disappeared, it was normal for them to feel uncomfortable. In the sea of consciousness, Overlord God Knight did not dare to make a sound. He hid in the corner of Yi Hong's sea of consciousness, his body trembling. Whether it was Qin Shujian or Pangu, the aura emitted from his body made him feel frightened. Such power. It was definitely something he could fight against. Even if he was at his peak, he was no match for the two of them. As early as when Yi Hong entered the game, Overlord God Knight understood a lot of things. For him, traitor or not, it didn't matter that much. What was really important was how to survive. Qin Shujian said, "You did well in the beginning. However, transferring the life imprint is not an ordinary method. Once it is done, it will be difficult to reverse it. I will ask you again. Are you really willing to transfer the life imprint?" Yi Hong and Zhongyi heard this. After looking at each other, they nodded solemnly. Yes. Good. Qin Shujian calmed his mind. A mysterious power spread out from his body and fell on Yi Hong and Zhongyi. In the dark, there was a big hand that seemed to cross the barrier between the two worlds and directly snatched the life imprint that existed in the other two worlds. The desolate Great World. The Nine Moons Great World. The two heavenly Tao, who were gradually awakening, seemed to have sensed something. They immediately woke up from their half-awake state. Boom, a terrifying power bombarded. Following the traces left by Qin Shujian, it directly bombarded the vast thousand world. In the sky above the heavenly court, there was a destructive wave spreading out. Pangu, who was sitting motionlessly, directly disappeared from his seat. The next moment, in the sky above the heavenly court, a giant axe appeared in his hand. When the destructive power descended, the axe light that could destroy heaven and earth destroyed everything, strangling all the power that bombarded him on the spot. Buzz. A terrifying fluctuation. With the two as the center, it spread out in all directions. Heaven and earth shook. The rules appeared. Then, Pangu took a deep look at the void, then returned to the heavenly palace. At this moment, in Qin Shujian's hand, there were two crystal-like things. When Yi Hong and Zhongyi saw the two crystals, a strong sense of familiarity rose in their hearts. It was as if the two crystals belonged to them in the first place. Any living being, after being born, will leave an imprint in heaven and earth. When one's cultivation reaches a certain level, one can seize the imprint and make it his own. Then, this level can be called transcendence. Qin Shujian looked at the two life imprints and said calmly, "Transcendence." It was easy to say. But it was definitely not that simple. Only Dao fruit level experts could get rid of the life imprints between heaven and earth and achieve a certain degree of transcendence. Life imprint. That's the life imprint. Tyrant God Knight's breathing was a little rapid. As a true immortal level expert, he naturally understood what the life imprint was. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't transcend, how could he die along with the myriad Daos, leaving behind only a remnant soul to live on? The more powerful the heaven and earth, the more difficult it was to seize the life imprint. In the heyday of the Nine Moons Great World, true immortals couldn't seize the life imprint at all. Even in the declining Nine Moons Great World, only extremely powerful true immortals were qualified to seize the life imprint. In other words, the lower limit of Qin Shujian's strength was already placed here. If at the front, if Tyrant God Knight still had doubts about Qin Shujian's strength, then now, he no longer had any doubts. Next, Qin Shujian pressed hard into the void. The two life imprints directly disappeared from everyone's sight. At the same time, Zhongyi and Yi Hong both had a kind of connection with the great wide world. That kind of connection. It represented that they were bound together for good or ill. Alright, you are now living beings of the great wide world. If the great wide world wins, you can ascend to heaven. But if you lose, I believe you are also prepared. "We'll take our leave." Yi Hong and Zoni bowed. Looking at the two of them leaving, Qin Shujian didn't stop them. Until now, only 2 of the 4 players from the player world had come. So what choice did the remaining 2 people have? It was needless to say. Regarding this, he didn't care too much. Today was different from the past. The people planted in the player world had already played a role. Behind, it was difficult for them to be useful again. After leaving the heavenly court, the immortals and gods of all races no longer held back. All the experts attacked and began to attack the players from all over the world. However, as early as when Xiao Qingfeng killed millions of players, the heavenly Dao of the 4 player worlds had been alerted. They had already sped up the pace of their invasion. Leading to now, the true strength of the players had already risen step by step. Even if the 10,000 races joined forces, they didn't have much of an upper hand. In the northern continent, billions of living beings were fighting with the players in a chaotic battle. The huge northern continent had directly become an Azura battlefield. Every moment, there would be living beings of the 10,000 races dying. Every moment, there were also players dying. It was just that there weren't many living beings who truly grasped true strength, so those who could completely kill the players were also in the minority. Most of the players who died were resurrected elsewhere. Of course, after resurrection, the realm of the players would drop. However, compared to the true strength that was constantly recovering, the drop in realm didn't have much impact at all. Kill. Everyone has the right to kill the otherworldly demons. A true immortal emperor of a race roared and revealed his million-feet body, instantly crushing countless players. However, when the true immortal emperor revealed his true body, he immediately became the target of many players' attacks. A dense amount of power bombarded him. Even though he was a true immortal, he couldn't resist at all. Instantly, his scales shattered. That true immortal emperor wailed and bled. "Then let's die together." As soon as he finished speaking, boom! His million-feet body exploded with a bang. That force was like a destructive wave, instantly sweeping in all directions. Billions of miles of the void. It was covered by this wave. During this period, countless players. They were all annihilated by this force. However, they were resurrected elsewhere. When a true immortal fell, heaven and earth mourned. Blood rained down. The boundless world and the 4 continents seemed to be covered by a rain of blood. The true immortals who rarely fell in the past had all fallen from the altar. Some players looked excited. "Kill, today is the day to become a god and prove the Tao. No one is to snatch it from me. All the experience is mine." Kill, in the chaotic battle, the players were also in a frenzy. For them, every fallen true immortal represented an immeasurable amount of experience. As long as they could get experience, their own realm could advance by leaps and bounds. Such benefits. It was enough to drive people crazy. In the face of a large number of players' attacks. Very soon, some small races were destroyed. At this moment, boundless Buddhist light emerged from the horizon. Immediately after, a huge Buddha sitting on a lotus appeared, looking down at the many players below. "The demons are in chaos, we Buddhists will cleanse the world." As soon as his voice fell, Buddha Sakya pressed down with his palm. The palm that covered the sky seemed to cover all the players. Bright golden light. It made all the living beings of the 10,000 races excited. There was no other way. The power of Buddha Sakya's attack was too terrifying. It gave them an illusion that all the players were just ants in front of him. When the palm fell, all of a sudden, there was an earth-shattering power erupting from below. A large number of players worked together and unleashed their strongest attacks, all of which bombarded the palm. Cracks appeared on the golden Buddha palm. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, it collapsed with a bang. Seeing this, Buddha-Sakya's expression did not change, but his heart became more serious. Ba. He had thought. He could easily kill players with his own hands. But he did not expect. The recovery of his true strength was much faster than he had imagined. Many players worked together. Even a Tao fruit at the illusory level could not be easily suppressed. However, Buddha-Sakya was not an ordinary Tao fruit after all. After his palm did not succeed, he once again used his supernatural power to kill the other players. Southern Continent. Goddess Pingxin was like a god descending to the mortal world. With a wave of her hand, a round disc directly broke through the air. On the round disc, the 6 paths of reincarnation disc had already successfully inscribed 4 of them. The disc rotated. There was an endless reincarnation power that killed the players. In comparison, even if the players attacked, they had no way to resist. For a moment, a large number of players were killed and wiped out in the 6 paths of reincarnation disc. In addition, the 6 paths of reincarnation disc was an existence that was tainted with true strength. When it killed the players, some players directly died and disappeared. Some players. But they fell by more than several realms. Eastern Continent. Western Continent. When the Buddhists in the underworld attacked, they also had Tao fruits to suppress the chaos of the players. Rumble. Heaven and earth were shaking. The blood-red color in the sky surged endlessly, and dense lightning surged out. It was as if the heavenly Tao was shaking, preparing to wash away all the filth in the world. In the inner hall of the heavenly palace, Qin Shujian was originally resting with his eyes closed. When the phenomenon intensified, he directly opened his eyes. "They're here." After saying that, Qin Shujian had already disappeared from the throne. In the void, the blood-red lightning lingered as if it would descend at any time. That world-destroying fluctuation made people unable to help but feel shocked. The space trembled slightly. Qin Shujian and Pangu both appeared there directly. The two of them looked at the blood-red lightning with calm expressions as usual. Now that many players have died, they feel angry. The blood-red lightning will destroy the world. I want to see if they really have the qualifications to destroy the world. As they spoke, a seal appeared in Qin Shujian's hand. That was the seal that represented the heavenly quartz lock. The seal appeared. Endless yellow clouds of luck surged out from it and then headed toward the slowly descending blood-red lightning. The two forces collided. The yellow clouds were constantly being worn down. However, the speed of the blood-red lightning's descent was also greatly hindered. At the same time, in the 4 players' worlds, the rules that were originally hidden were completely presented in front of everyone at this time. The rules were presented. Those who had not entered the game yet all looked up at the rules that emerged in the world at this moment as if they felt something. Soon, a stalwart figure walked out of the rules. And then, that stalwart figure took another step forward and disappeared from everyone's sight. The boundless world. In the void in front of them cracked silently. A stalwart figure directly appeared in front of Qin Shujian and Pangu. The figure looked similar to an ordinary person. But it also gave people a feeling that it was as tall as the sky. Endless rule power lingered around it as if it was a combination of rules. There were various forms on its face, and a pair of extremely indifferent eyes. Heavenly Tao. When they saw the person who came, both of them understood in their hearts. This was the heavenly Tao of the player's world. Qin Shujian did not move. He looked at the incoming heavenly Tao, his face still indifferent. Only one heavenly Tao has come. Where are the remaining 3 heavenly Tao? How long are you going to wait? As soon as he finished speaking, then, he saw boundless might crushing down from the sky. In an instant, the void broke through the void again. One stalwart figure after another directly appeared from the void. Every single one of them. They were all the same as the original body, a combination of endless rules. It made people unable to help but feel shocked when they saw it. 4 bodies. They represented the heavenly Tao of the 4 worlds. Just the aura emitted by the other party could silently destroy the void. They're here. Hong Jun held the creation jade disc in his hand. After forcefully suppressing a portion of the players, he raised his head and looked at the sky. His calm face was filled with shock. He was a Tao ancestor. But the Tao integration was only the Tao of the illusory world. And the Tao of the illusory world and the Tao of the real world had a huge gap. Even though Hong Jun had fought with the heavenly Tao of the real world and the real world. However, at that time, the heavenly Tao was still in a state of deep sleep. It did not use much of its strength at all. But even then, Hong Jun also admitted that he was no match for it and had no choice but to retreat into the upper-class world. Now, the heavenly Tao of the player world had completely awakened. That terrifying aura leaked out, making him feel like an ant. At this moment, Hong Jun finally realized how big was the gap between the Tao fruit of the illusory world and the heavenly Tao of the real world. He also understood how laughable was his original plan. In the face of absolute power, any plan would appear insignificant. We have overestimated ourselves and underestimated them. Hong Jun sighed secretly. At this moment, he no longer had much hope for Qin Shujian and Pangu. After all, judging from the aura of the heavenly Tao, even if Qin Shujian and Pangu had successfully transformed, it was unlikely for them to deal with the 4 heavenly Tao. However, even so, Hong Jun did not completely give up struggling. He was able to experience the destruction of several eras because he had hope in his heart. He would not give up until the last moment. Destroy. His attention returned to the player in front of him. Hong Jun spat out a simple word, and the creation jade disc immediately emitted a terrifying brilliance. As the heavenly Tao awakened and appeared in the upper-class world, the true strength of all the players was also awakening step by step. Boom! Boom! Numerous forces converged and bombarded the good fortune jade butterfly, causing it to tremble. Hong Jun's expression did not change. The Pangu banner had already appeared in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the innate sword chi erupted with an unstoppable momentum. In the void, Tian Dao of Heaven Wasteland looked at the two of them and said in an indifferent tone, "Ants of the illusory world, you have successfully found the path to metamorphosis. Your talent is not bad, but you are destined to fall. Any struggle is futile. Don't resist anymore. It's meaningless." Hearing this, Qin Shujian smiled with his hands behind his back. "We don't know who the ants are. Before the final outcome is decided, you will only embarrass yourself in the end. The upper-class world is too small. You and I can't let go of our hands and feet. Why don't you and I fight in the universe? I just don't know if the heavenly Tao of Tian Huang has the confidence." As soon as he finished speaking, the scene was silent. Qin Shujian took a step forward and disappeared into the void. At the same time, Pangu also left. Looking at the two people who disappeared in front of him, the heavenly Tao of 4 directions was silent for a while. Then, his body suddenly disappeared. In the void, the heavenly Tao of 4 directions each guarded one side, and the ones who were trapped in the middle were Qin Shujian and Pangu. Just from the aura alone, the aura emitted by the heavenly Tao of 4 directions was not weaker than that of an upper-class true immortal. And this, it was still because the heavenly Tao of 4 directions was heading towards extinction. If that was not the case, at its peak, the heavenly Tao of 4 directions was at least comparable to the Tao fruit in the real world. But in Qin Shujian's opinion, there were no ifs in anything. If it was, then it was. If it wasn't, then it wasn't. Although the power of the heavenly Tao of 4 directions was strong, it was still within his expectations. Immediately after, Qin Shujian turned his head to look at Pangu. "How many do you think you can fight?" Hearing this, Pangu's gaze swept across the heavenly Tao of 4 directions, and then he shook his head. At most, I can fight one. What a coincidence, I can only fight one. Qin Shujian smiled. Pangu's face couldn't help but darken. Is this the 100% confidence that the Qin Emperor mentioned? You fight one, I fight one. The remaining 2 heavenly Tao would not just stand by and watch. In other words, the 2 of them fighting the heavenly Tao of 4 directions was basically no different from waiting for death. Don't worry, King Pan. I naturally won't fight a battle that I'm not confident in. The smile on Qin Shujian's face did not diminish. A small door appeared in his hand, and then the small door instantly grew larger, and then it suddenly opened. Seeing this, Pangu couldn't help but look at the open door. Behind the door, there was only a pitch-black hole, and nothing could be seen at all. In the inner world, the powerhouses of the 10,000 races had already assembled long ago. At the same time, in the underworld and the heavenly demon clan, there was a voice that reached everyone's ears at the same time. Gather at the heavenly court and attack. They're here. Marcus's expression was complicated. Then, he looked at the many heavenly demon clan experts in front of him and waved his hand. The Venerable One has ordered that all heavenly demon clan members can gather at the heavenly court. Yes. As soon as he finished, with Marcus in the lead, all the powerhouses of the Celestial Fiend clan left the void and headed for the lower realm. In the underworld, the 10 kings of hell did not hesitate either. They gathered all the ghosts and spirits and headed towards the heavenly court. In the heavenly court, with Feng in the lead, all the experts of the 10,000 races gathered here, including Ling Huang, who was in seclusion. At this moment, the void above shook and black clouds rolled over. This scene. Immediately, Immortal's expression changed. The heavenly demon clan is here. What do they want to do? Could it be that they want to take advantage of this time to attack the heavenly court? The heavenly demon clan did not come earlier or later, but at this moment, they could not help but think. Ling Huang looked up. He also looked at the descending black clouds. He still remembered that the heavenly demon clan had obstructed his breakthrough. If there was a chance, he would definitely settle the score with the heavenly demon clan. Fang's expression was calm. Don't be impatient. Now that all the experts of the heavenly court are here, if the heavenly demon clan dares to attack, I will not let them return. Hearing that, many immortals came back to their senses. That's right. Although the heavenly demon clan was scary, could they be scarier than the heavenly court? Now that all the experts of the heavenly court were here, what qualifications did the heavenly demon clan have to resist? By the time everyone's hearts had settled down, the experts of the heavenly demon clan had arrived. Fang's expression was indifferent. Marcus, is your heavenly demon clan planning to start a war with the heavenly court? His gaze swept across the many heavenly demon clan members behind him, and a strange light flickered in his eyes. It depended on the situation. The heavenly demon clan had really moved out in full force. Hearing that, Marcus was also indifferent. My heavenly demon clan has long had the idea of destroying your heavenly court, but not now. This seat is under the orders of the supremacy to meet up with the heavenly court. As he spoke, countless Inchi rushed up from below. The 10 kings of hell walked out of the underworld with a large number of In souls and ghost servants. The underworld is under the orders of the supremacy to come to the heavenly court to help. Some of the experts who had never heard of Qin Shujian's name. Now that they heard that the heavenly demon clan and the underworld had come under the orders of the supremacy, there was no need to describe the shock in their hearts. At this moment, Feng also took out the small door from his hand. The small door left his hand and transformed into a huge door that was 1,000,000 feet in size. He did not waste any time and directly waved his hand. All the experts of the heavenly court and the immortals and gods of the myriad races, follow me. As soon as he finished speaking, he took the lead and walked in. Immediately after, the immortals and gods of the heavenly court and the experts of the myriad races began to swarm in. In the void. After the door opened, there was a slight vibration. Very soon, a middle-aged man wearing a crown walked out from inside. The moment he looked at Qin Shujian, he bowed and said, "Greetings, Supremacy." Qin Shujian nodded slightly. Then, Feng tactfully stood to the side. Then, he silently sized up the situation in front of him. When he saw the heavenly Tao of the four directions, there was no need to describe the shock in his heart. At the same time, he understood that this was probably the emperor that Qin Shujian had mentioned. After the wind came out. Soon, one cultivator after another came out from the cave. Pangu was shocked to discover that every cultivator was an existence that eliminated the false and retained the true. In other words, these cultivators all came from a real world. Moreover, from the respectful gazes of those cultivators towards Qin Shujian, it could be seen that this Emperor Qin's status in that world was not low. For a moment, Pangu felt that he could not see through Qin Shujian. In less than a few breaths, there were hundreds of millions of living beings occupying the void. The original situation of 4 against 2 had turned into a situation of hundreds of millions of living beings besieging the heavenly Tao of the four directions. Although the cultivators of the inner world were not very strong, they could not withstand the large number of cultivators. Hundreds of millions of cultivators, even if they were true immortals of the upper 3 levels, there was a possibility of them dying. At this moment, Qin Shujian waved his hand and the smile on his face disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by coldness. "Kill!" As soon as he finished speaking, a divine weapon flew out from his sea of consciousness. The Tao fruit that could destroy everything took the lead to attack the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland. At the same time, Pangu also held a giant axe in his hand and charged towards the 9 moons of heaven. Feng's expression was solemn. His gaze landed on the red jade heavenly Tao and he shouted coldly, "All cultivators of the myriad races, follow me to kill the enemy." After he finished speaking, he had already summoned the Emperor of Heaven's imperial seal, carrying the destiny of the heavenly court and suppressing the red jade heavenly Tao. The limits of heaven and earth increased. Feng's realm had already successfully broken through from the first level of immortal to the second level of immortal. However, even the second level of immortal was a huge gap compared to the third level of true immortal. But now, he directly borrowed the endless destiny of the heavenly court, causing his realm to temporarily rise from the second level of immortal to the 6th level of immortal. Although he had not crossed the threshold of the third level of true immortal, the peak of the 6th level of immortal was not weak. With the many immortals and gods of the heavenly court joining forces, suppressing the red jade heavenly Tao was not a problem at all. The remaining desolate heavenly Tao. It was targeted by the heavenly demon clan and the underworld. In terms of foundation, the heavenly demon clan and the underworld were both inferior to the heavenly court. However, when the two joined forces, they were not much weaker than the heavenly court. Countless spirits joined forces with the heavenly demons to form a massive tidal wave that drowned the primordial heavenly Tao. Boom! Boom! A terrifying wave of energy spread out in the universe. Endless power was emitted. All the void that was touched was destroyed inch by inch. This power, it even exceeded the limit that the universe could withstand. Destroy. Qin Shujian's expression was cold. The Godslayer erupted with terrifying sharpness, and with one slash, all the rules in front of it were destroyed, and then fiercely slashed the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland. Although it was only a middle third level of true immortal. But the problem was, when it extracted the power of the remaining living beings in the inner world, its realm had successfully risen to the peak of the middle third level of true immortal. In addition, it had a great thousand world and an extremely deep foundation, so it was not a problem to challenge people of a higher level. The long saber slashed down. Even though the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland had mastered the rules of heaven and earth, there was no way to stop it. Crush. From the beginning until now, the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland had been in a situation where it was crushed. In such a situation, Qin Shujian had long expected it. He had never been joking when he said that he was 100% confident. Even with the foundation of the inner world and his own strength, a 100% chance of winning was not a problem at all. You invaded the universe and used it as nourishment. Today, you should become nourishment for us and help the living beings of the Great Thousand World get rid of the false and retain the true. Qin Shujian laughed loudly. The Godslayer in his hand bloomed with a dazzling light. He did not use Zhou Tian's star map. In such a battle, a supreme treasure like Zhou Tian's star map would not play a big role at all. Moreover, the God-slaying saber alone was enough. Fight! 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 Slash after slash, the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland was shattered. The shadow of death had unknowingly shrouded his heart. Roar! With a shocking roar, a terrifying wave of energy erupted from the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland. At the same time, at this moment, all the players of the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland Great World found that they were no longer under any control. All their power was instantly drawn out and all went to the universe. Chu Quangtu, who had been besieged by many players and whose body was already shattered and seriously injured, showed a sinister smile on his face when he saw this. It's finally here. I thought I wouldn't have a chance to trigger it until the moment of my death. He looked at the players in front of him who had lost their cultivation and swept out his saber. The players within 1,000,000 miles were directly wiped out. Then, Chu Quangtu performed a mysterious incantation, and a faint wave of energy went to the universe. In the universe, after extracting the power of all living creatures, the power of the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland was directly pulled up from the original upper 3 true immortal to the half-step Tao fruit level. You deserve to die. The skyrocketing power made the confidence of the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland soar. He looked at Qin Shujian in front of him, and the indifference in his eyes was gone. There was only cold murderous intent. The heavenly Tao would not get angry easily. But once it got angry, that would be millions of corpses. All of a sudden, a mysterious wave spread from the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland, and then his expression changed drastically. What's going on? He felt it. There seemed to be something wrong with the power of all living beings that he was in charge of. It was completely out of his control. That feeling. It was like a normal person swallowing a bottle of poison. In an instant, the skyrocketing power of the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland fell. Seeing the opponent's aura fall, Qin Shujian smiled. The edge of the long saber was revealed, and his face became cold again. It seems that the ant is not me, but you. While he was sick, take his life. Qin Shujian had been waiting for a long time. The heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland had finally succeeded in absorbing the power of all living beings. Naturally, he would not let go of this opportunity. He took a step forward. The long saber slashed down. The tens of thousands of rules collapsed. The physical body of the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland, which was made up of rules, was directly destroyed by the power of the long saber. No, the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland was horrified, and the instinctive fear in his heart made him want to retreat. Trap. Everything was a trap. However, how could Qin Shujian allow the other party to retreat? Soon, the attack came again. Being counterattacked by the power of all living beings, the power of the heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland not only did not rise, but fell by several levels. As a result, in front of Qin Shujian, there was no way to resist. The long saber broke through the air, and the flickering saber light illuminated the colorless void. In the end, it fell silent again. The heavenly Tao of Heaven Wasteland stood there in a daze, and the light in his eyes gradually disappeared. Then, his body collapsed. A rainbow-colored crystal appeared there. The heavenly wasteland great world. When the heavenly Tao of Heaven wasteland fell, the entire world began to fall into a state of complete silence. The sky collapsed. The earth cracked. Countless volcanoes spewed out. There was a rain of blood, and the entire world was crying. Those living beings looked at the changes in heaven and earth, and there was only despair on their faces. At this moment, they knew very well what had happened. God. Dead. When the heavenly Tao of Heaven wasteland fell, not only did the heavenly wasteland great world collapse, but all the living beings whose life imprints existed in the heavenly wasteland great world also walked towards silence at the same time. In the vast world, the players whose cultivations had been extracted disappeared without any reaction. This scene, in the eyes of Hong Jun and the others, the result was completely different. 1. The Tao ancestor looked shocked. Then he looked at the universe, where the fluctuations were still there. No. They had not won yet. However, one side of the heavenly Tao had already fallen. At first, Hong Jun thought that their chances of winning were less than 10%, then now that one side of the heavenly Tao had fallen, their chances of winning had at least increased to 30%. In the universe, Qin Shujian put away the rainbow-colored crystal and turned his attention to the other battlefield. When the heavenly Tao of Heaven wasteland fell, the remaining 3 heavenly Tao were all shocked. Although they did not know how the heavenly Tao of Heaven wasteland fell, they understood that if they did not use their trump cards, then the next one to fall would be them. So, the 3 heavenly Tao did not hesitate. It was the same as the heavenly Tao of Heaven wasteland, all extracting the power of all living beings for their own use. However, when they were extracting power, like the heavenly Tao of Heaven wasteland, they were directly hit by the power of all living beings. Their strength. Not only did it not rise, but it also fell rapidly. A sudden change. It stunned Pangu for a moment. However, he had been fighting in the universe for many years, and he had long been familiar with the way of killing. No matter what happened to the heavenly Tao in front of him. But for him, that was a good thing. Kill! The giant axe struck out fiercely, directly tearing the physical body of the heavenly Tao in front of him. At this moment, after Qin Shujian collected the colorful crystal, he stepped on the air and came over. Pan Wang, I'm here to help you. The power of the immortal weapon was pushed to the limit. The long saber wrapped in endless power slashed down, instantly destroying the physical body of the heavenly Tao. Then, Panga did not hesitate either. He also burst out with all his power. The 9 Moons heavenly Tao was not much stronger than Pangu, and now that his strength had fallen greatly, he was even less of a match for the 2 of them. Not long after, the 9 Moons heavenly Tao was also destroyed, leaving behind a colorful crystal. On the other side, the heavenly Tao of the 2 worlds also suffered from the backlash. However, there were limited powerhouses in the inner worlds, and many of them had fallen in the battle. Fortunately, with the backlash of the heavenly Tao's power, the heavenly court, the Sky Demon clan, and the underworld had a chance to breathe. At this moment, the heavenly Tao of Heaven wasteland and the 9 Moons heavenly Tao had fallen. The heavenly Tao of Primordial and the heavenly Tao of Red Jade both sensed that something was wrong. As the heavenly Tao, when they sensed that things were not going well, the first thing they wanted to do was to retreat. However, it was easy to come, but it was not so easy to retreat. You and I each take one. After saying that, Qin Shujian took the lead and charged toward the heavenly Tao of Primordial. Hearing that, Pangu's giant axe was already pointed at the heavenly Tao of Red Jade. The axe light was destroyed. All the rules were like paper in front of it. After fighting in the universe for many years, not to mention that he had already succeeded in his transformation, the axe in his hand had also transformed into a terrifying existence. Although it was still an immortal weapon, it was not something that ordinary immortal weapons could compare to. No, As the heavenly Tao of red jade roared in indignation, Panga killed it by force and collected the colorful crystal. On the other side, the heavenly Tao of primordial fell almost at the same time. At this moment, the heavenly Tao of four directions had completely fallen. The change in the battle. The powerhouses in the inner worlds could not react in time. Emperor Qin, this is the crystal of that world. Panga tossed the seven-colored crystal over to him. He had no intention of taking possession of the amalgamation that contained the energy of an entire world. Thank you. Qin Shujian took the colorful crystal and then looked at Feng and the others. Everyone, go back first. After this battle, you will be rewarded according to your contributions. You are too kind, Venerable One. Feng nodded slightly and led all the people belonging to the heavenly court away. The Sky Fiend clan and the people of the underworld did the same. Soon, in the void, only Qin Shujian and Pangu were left. Under the aftermath of the great battle, the void was now destroyed inch by inch. Not only did it not heal, but it was also showing signs of worsening. Pangu looked at the changes in the void in front of him with a solemn expression. The universe is going to be destroyed. It will not be long before the real power sweeps over here. Emperor Qin, are you confident? Outside the universe, it was eroded by the real power. Now, after a great battle, the insides of the universe were shattered, causing the universe to become much weaker. In this way, the real power directly accelerated the erosion. Not long after, the scene of the destruction of the era was about to happen again. Looking at the collapsing universe, Qin Shujian smiled faintly. There's enough time. Then, he entered the core of heaven and earth. The real power in the core of heaven and earth was still there, but the invasion speed had slowed down a lot. The heavenly Tao collapsed. The real power was like rootless duckweed, no longer under anyone's control. If no one stopped it. When the real power here devoured the core of heaven and earth, the upper-class world would also collapse. However, Qin Shujian would not allow such a thing to happen. He came to the core of heaven and earth, took out the four colorful crystals, and put them all in. Buzz, the four colorful crystals merged. The core of heaven and earth trembled violently, and then began to quietly transform in front of Qin Shujian's eyes. The core of heaven and earth transformed. The entire upper-class world was also transforming. The blood-red lightning slowly dissipated. Then, golden flowers floated down from the sky, and golden lotuses appeared on the ground. All the creatures of the myriad races, when touching the golden flowers and golden lotuses, felt their bodies and souls transforming. Their realms fell. When they fell below the basic realm, they began to increase their realms again. In the end, some people were in the basic realm. Some stabilized in the true martial god realm. Some stabilized in the celestial realm. But there were very few who stabilized in the true immortal realm. Get rid of the false and retain the true. Hong Jun looked at himself and a faint smile appeared on his face. He was no longer a Tao fruit, but an ordinary true immortal. But even so, it allowed this Tao ancestor to see the endless road ahead. On the other side, Goddess Pingxin looked at the completely successful 6 paths of reincarnation disc and waved her hand to send the 6 paths of reincarnation disc into the underworld. At that moment, the 6 paths of reincarnation were successfully opened. As the 6 paths of reincarnation were successfully opened, heaven and earth were subliming to the extreme. At this moment, the universe was completely destroyed. The silver color that represented the real power surged in all directions like a wave. When all the universes were destroyed, when the silver power rushed towards the upper-class world, it only caused the barrier of heaven and earth to fluctuate slightly. It was not destroyed as easily as before. In the core of heaven and earth, Qin Shujian saw the scene outside heaven and earth through the core of heaven and earth. Behind the endless power, there seemed to be a different scene. The great calamity that had caused despair for several eras could no longer affect the upper-class world. However, getting rid of the false and retaining the true was only the beginning. Although the great calamity had passed, there were still other calamities in the future. The path of cultivation. It had to be cut through thorns and thorns. Qin Shujian took a deep look outside heaven and earth, and then left the core of heaven and earth. They say that there's no end, but one day, I will reach the true end, the end of the book. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.